Hello and welcome to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined today by Will Hodson, who is the co-founder of thebigdeal.com. First off, Will, thank you very much for joining us here today. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. For our viewers, can you just explain what thebigdeal.com is and what you do at thebigdeal.com?
Sure, great to be here. The Big Deal is a consumer collective. What that means is we aggregate consumers in huge numbers and negotiate together to unlock cheaper deals on utilities, primarily gas and electricity. So we've got nearly 500,000 members now.
Fantastic.
That allows us to get continually cheaper deals from all kinds of energy companies, often outside the incumbent big six suppliers.
Brilliant. We're going to talk about a bit of research that your company has done, or a few bits of research that you've looked into with regards to price caps. And it seems to be, we've seen a lot of headlines, certainly from the Conservative government of late, with regards to price caps on energy and the like. Talk us through, though, if you'd be so kind, the story or the history of the price cap and how that's changed and how it's been passed between political parties over the years.
Sure, the history of the price cap, I'm sure it's going to be a crucial unit in politics courses in the decades to come, because it started out in sort of 2014, 2015 as a Labour idea. So you had Ed Miliband who said, look, enough's enough, the market here is broken, I'm going to announce a price freeze. So a slightly different version of the price cap. Price freeze was something that went down very well, much to the chagrin of the Conservative Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, who said this is Marxist fantasy. But the people rather disagreed. It was one of Miliband's few policies that really cut through, and the price freeze sounded great until prices went down in the wholesale market, where he rapidly said, actually what I meant to say was it's a price cap. So fast forward to an election, Miliband out, price cap gone. And then next major event is Brexit. That sees Theresa May put into number 10 Downing Street, and she says she's going to give and deliver a Britain that runs for the many and not for the few.
For everyone, or everyone, as we saw the F drop off at the party conference.
That was before that calamity there. So this is when she was there at her most powerful, launching out her vision for Britain. It was going to work for the many, not for the few. And a key element of that turned out to be her promise of a price cap. So that's quite a reverse from the Marxist fantasy of her predecessor as Conservative Prime Minister. And now you've got Theresa May saying, going into the election, one of her key promises was there will be a price cap. Now that promise was matched by Labour, who said, we also support a price cap. Now we all know the election didn't go to plan, and talk of a price cap seemed to disappear. So it was actually something of a surprise when it resurfaced just a few months ago. It owes a lot to a Conservative MP called John Penrose, who went out there saying, we should support this, we did get this right, we should have the courage of our convictions, and the price cap must happen. And after a bit of toing and froing, it looks like it will. Not quite as Penrose expected and wanted it, but it will happen.
Understood. And let's look at the government. What does that mean for the government? Is this a positive or negative for them? It feels like they're pandering to the electorate, and the electorate want a price cap, and that can be quite a vote-winning policy. But all the kind of to and fro dilly-dallying by the government, is that seen as a negative or a positive in the long run, potentially?
Well, this still hasn't gone through, and there could be problems ahead, even though Labour backed a price cap going into the general election. They are going to take exception, you can be sure, to certain elements of the bill as it passes through Parliament. Not tough enough, not going far enough. Now, as that happens, you could see Theresa May facing opposition on two fronts. Labour picking holes in it for not being strong enough, and a heck of a lot of free market Conservative MPs who never wanted a price cap in the first place. So I would say keep your eye on this issue. It could cause a lot of debate, argument, and potentially controversy to come.
And you were talking about working with the major, was it the Big Six, the Big Eight? I forget
the Big Six.
Big Six. How will this pan out for them if it is passed, the bill is passed? surely that's going to hit their bottom lines.
So the big six fought tooth and nail to oppose a price cap. And when you look at their business model, it's very easy to understand why. These people who have between 60, 70% sometimes of their customers on their worst tariff. And that is what primarily is going to be brought down by a price cap. It's often been argued that the bigger energy companies are inefficient to a point where they can only actually make money if the price is high for customers who aren't going to engage the market and switch around. So that's why they were so unhappy at the prospect of having their prices capped. Let's not forget that the prices these guys are charging are sometimes £300 or £400 more than the best deal in the market. I see your eyebrows shoot up there behind the glasses, Matt. It is horrific because there's no difference in the energy that's coming into your home. So you and me using the exact same amount in the exact same house in a terrace could be with the exact same supplier, but on different deals with that supplier could find ourselves paying different amounts by as much as 40%.
Understood. And surely when there's such a disparity between like for like and the same energy being supplied, should the government be looking at dealing with that? I mean, I guess it is a free market and you're allowed to do whatever you can. And would a price cap stop those huge disparities?
So crucial idea, it's a free market, so you can do what you can. And it's this every man for himself principle that saw a lot of people getting badly overcharged, often the most vulnerable, most trusting customers who have been with their supplier for 10, 15 years. Now, what I think even some free marketeers in the Conservative Party have come to accept is that the business model, the British energy industry, has become downright exploitative. It is simply not right and not fair that someone shows loyalty, stays with their supplier for years, perhaps they're just not confident enough in their ability to switch to go and look for a new supplier. They could find themselves being overcharged to the tune of £300 or £400 a year. Now, that's why you have a price cap. It's going to prevent the freedom of suppliers to charge effectively whatever they want to people who aren't going to switch. We all see the headlines. There's a price rise. British Gas announced a price rise. EDF announcing a price rise. They've announced two in the space of a year. Why don't people switch away? It's a moot point. The fact is they don't. And it underlines there are certain energy companies who can charge more or less what they like to customers who will never switch. And that's what the price cap is there to prevent. It's worth also talking at this point about a solution that thought and presented itself as being more of a free market solution. So the price cap that we've discussed and we expect to see is an absolute price cap. It will say there is a level above which you cannot set your prices. Now that is what has appalled certain, especially Conservative MPs, saying that is downright, it's a constraint on a free market, we shouldn't do it. And when John Penrose, who was the leading MP who actually supported the price cap after Theresa May appeared to back away from it, what he suggested was something more free market. He said, why don't we have a relative price cap? And what that meant was, if you have a company that has one deal out there, which is £1,000, you would say you cannot charge anyone else with your company, more than 20% on top of that, for example, maybe 30%, maybe 40%. The point was, it was capped relative to where your best deal was in the market. That seems to have fallen by the wayside for the primary reason that the main thing you wanted to stop was people on the worst deals getting overcharged. And what the fear was with a relative price cap, you could just say, okay, no cheap deals at all, and we can put the high one as high as we like.
Understood. And overall, this has got to be good for the consumer. But in the meantime, what can a consumer do? My eyebrows, as you rightly say, rose when you said it's £300, £400 more than someone else on a deal using the same energy. What can I, as an individual and viewers, do to mitigate that and to improve that situation?
Quite simply, you need to switch. So this price cap is likely to help people who have been on the worst deal, languished on the worst deal for years, and it should see about £100 coming off of their bill. Now, we've talked about £300, £400 being what's on offer if you switch. So it's cold comfort to know you've got £100 off. This is not saying sit back, relax, you're on a great deal all the time. you should go out there, you should engage with the comparison site, or even better, join a consumer collective like The Big Deal, and we can get you a fantastic deal that would probably be another £200, £300 cheaper than anything that might happen with a price cap, which is probably a year down the line anyway.
Fantastic. Well, that's warm comfort, hopefully, if people can whack up the thermostat if they're getting cheaper deals. But in the meantime, Will, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you.